Why most people quit too soon. English listening practice B1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's English listening practice for intermediate learners. This is a special lesson for B1 students. And today's topic is why most people quit too soon. Have you ever started something new like a hobby, a school project, or even learning English and then stopped before you finished? Don't worry, it happens to many people. In this lesson, we'll explore why people give up, hear some stories, and learn tips to keep going. This is part 1 of our series, so get ready to listen, learn, and practice your English. Here's a warm-up question to think about as you listen. What's one thing you started but didn't finish? It could be a sport, a language, or a personal goal. Keep that in mind as we go. I'll speak clearly and at a medium pace, perfect for B1 learners. If you're ready, let's get started. Pause for 5 seconds understanding why people quit. 800 words. Let's begin by talking about why people quit. Quitting means stopping something before you reach your goal. It's very common, and there are many reasons for it. Today, we'll look at 3 main reasons why people give up too soon. Lack of clear goals. And big reason people quit is that they don't have a clear goal. Think of a goal as a map. If you're traveling somewhere new, a map helps you know where to go. Without it, you might feel lost and stop. Goals work the same way. For example, if you're learning English, a clear goal might be, I want to speak English for 5 minutes with a friend next month. Without a goal, it's easy to lose focus and quit. Here's an example. Someone wanted to learn to play the guitar. They bought a guitar, watched some videos, and practiced for a few weeks. But soon, they stopped. Why? They said, I didn't know what I wanted to achieve. Was I learning one song or trying to play concerts? I wasn't sure. Without a clear goal, it's hard to stay motivated. Listening practice. Question 1. Pause the audio now and think, do you have a clear goal for something you're working on? Write down one goal you have. It could be about English, a hobby, or anything else. Pause for 10 seconds. Reason 2. Fear of failure. Another reason people quit is fear of failure. Failure means not succeeding, and it can feel scary. Many people think, what if I try and I'm not good enough? Or what if others think I'm not good? This fear makes them stop. For example, a student wanted to join a soccer team. They practiced every day, but in their first game, they missed an important shot. They felt embarrassed and thought, I'm not good at this. I should quit. But here's the truth. Failure is normal. Everyone fails sometimes. Even the best athletes miss shots. Even the best students make mistakes. Failure is how we learn. Here's a tip. Instead of thinking, I failed, try thinking, I learned something. For example, someone tried baking a cake, but it burned. They felt upset. But then they learned to check the oven temperature next time. Failure is not the end, it's part of the journey to success. Listening practice. Question 2. Pause the audio and answer. Have you ever stopped something because you were afraid of failing? What was it? Pause for 10 seconds. Lack of patience. Third reason people quit is that they want results too fast. We live in a world where everything feels fast food, fast internet, fast answers. But most goals take time. Learning English, for example, doesn't happen in a week. It takes months or even years to become fluent. Think about planting a seed in a garden. You water it, but it doesn't become a flower the next day. It needs time to grow. Goals are like that. If you quit too soon, you might miss the moment when your hard work starts to show results. Here's a story. Someone started a small business selling handmade jewelry. They worked hard for a month, but they didn't sell much. They thought, this isn't working, and almost quit. But then they kept going, learned new ways to advertise. And after a few months, their business grew. Patience made the difference. Listening practice question 3. Pause the audio and think. What's something you're working on that might take a long time? How can you stay patient? Pause for 10 seconds. Stories of perseverance. 800 words now that we know why people quit. Let's talk about people who didn't give up. These stories show how staying strong can lead to success. Learning a new skill. Samin wanted to learn to paint. They had never painted before, so they bought some brushes and watched online videos. At first, their paintings didn't look good. They felt frustrated and thought, maybe painting isn't for me. But instead of quitting, they set a small goal. Paint one picture every week. They also joined a painting group to learn from others. After 6 months, their paintings improved a lot. They even sold one at a local art show. This story teaches us 2 things. Set small goals and find support. Small goals make big dreams feel easier. And having friends or a group can keep you motivated. Listening. Practice question 4. Pause and think. Who could help you with a goal you're working on? It could be a friend, teacher, or family member. Pause for 10 seconds. Overcoming setbacks. Another person wanted to run a marathon. They trained for weeks, but during a practice run, they hurt their knee. The doctor said they needed to rest for a month. They felt discouraged and thought about quitting. But instead, they used the time to learn about running techniques and build strength. When they could run again, they were even better prepared. They finished the marathon and felt so proud. This shows that setbacks, problems, or obstacles are not the end. They're just a pause. Use setbacks as a chance to learn or try a new approach. Listening practice question 5. Pause and answer. What's a setback you faced? How did you handle it? Or how could you handle it differently? Pause for 10 seconds. Tips to keep going. 800 words now. Let's share some practical tips to avoid quitting. These tips will help you stay focused and motivated. Break goals into small steps. Big goals can feel overwhelming. For example, saying, I want to be fluent in English is a huge goal. Instead, break it into smaller steps, like learn 10 new words this week or watch an English movie without subtitles. Small steps make progress feel easier. Try this. Think of a big goal you have. Now, break it into 3 smaller steps you can do this month. Write them down. Celebrate small wins every time you achieve a small step. Celebrate. Maybe you learned a new English phrase or finished a project. Reward yourself with something small, like watching your favorite show or eating a treat. Celebrating keeps you motivated. For example, as students studying English celebrated every time they finished a lesson by listening to their favorite song. It made learning fun and kept them going. Stay positive. Your mindset. How you think matters a lot. If you think this is too hard, you might quit. Instead, say, This is hard, but I'm learning. Positive thoughts help you stay strong. Here's an exercise. Every day, write one positive thing about your progress. Maybe you spoke English with a friend or understood a new word. This builds confidence. Listening practice question 6. Pause and think. What's one small win you had recently? How can you celebrate it? Let's start with a big idea. Habits are more important than motivation. Motivation is like a spark. It can start a fire, but it doesn't keep it burning. Habits are like adding wood to the fire every day. They help you keep going, even when you don't feel motivated. What's a habit? A habit is something you do regularly, almost without thinking. For example, brushing your teeth every morning is a habit. You don't need to feel excited to do it, you just do it. Goals, like learning English or getting fit, need habits to succeed. Without habits, you might start strong, not quit when motivation fades. Here's an example. Someone wanted to learn a new language. They were very excited at first and studied every day for a week. But then life got busy and they stopped. Why? They relied only on motivation, not habits. If they had built a habit like studying 10 minutes every morning, they might have kept going. Habits make things easier because they become part of your routine. Listening practice question 1. Pause the audio now and think, what's one habit you do every day? Without thinking, it could be something simple, like drinking water or checking your phone. Pause for 10 seconds. Habits are powerful because they save energy. When you do something regularly, your brain doesn't need to make a big decision each time. For example, a student wanted to improve their English speaking. They decided to practice speaking for 5 minutes every evening after dinner. At first, it felt hard, but after a few weeks, it became automatic. They didn't need to think, should I practice today? They just did it, like brushing their teeth. That's the power of habits. They make hard things feel easy over time. But building habits isn't always simple. Many people struggle because they try to do too much at once. For example, someone might say, I'll exercise for an hour every day, eat healthy, and study English all at the same time. That's too much. Starting small is better. A small habit, like studying one new English word a day, is easier to stick with. Over time, small habits add up to big results. Listening practice question 2. Pause and answer. What's one small habit you could start to help with a goal? For example, reading one English sentence a day. Pause for 10 seconds. Stories of successful habits now. Let's hear some stories about people who build habits to achieve their goals. These stories show how small, consistent actions can lead to success. First, think about someone who wanted to get fit. They weren't very active, but they decided to start walking for 10 minutes every morning. At first, it felt boring, and they didn't see changes right away. But they kept going, walking every day at the same time. After a month, they felt stronger and started walking longer, 20 minutes, then 30. A year later, they were running 5 kilometers regularly. Their small habit of walking 10 minutes grew into a big change. This story teaches us to start small and be consistent. Consistency means doing something regularly, even if it's small. A 10-minute walk every day is better than exercising for 2 hours once and then quitting. Here's another story. A student wanted to do better in school. They struggled with math and often felt like giving up. Instead of studying for hours, they made a habit every evening. They reviewed one math problem before bed. It took only 5 minutes, but they did it every day. Over time, they understood math better and felt more confident. By the end of the year, their grades improved a lot. This shows that habits don't need to be big to work. Even 5 minutes a day can make a difference if you stick with it. The student also learned to tie their habit to a specific time before bed, which made it easier to remember. Listening practice question 3. Pause and think. What's a time of day you could use for a new habit? For example, morning or after. Lunch, pause for 10 seconds. One more story. Someone wanted to write a book. Writing a whole book sounded huge. So they started with a tiny habit, writing one sentence every morning. Some days, they wrote more, but they always wrote at least one sentence. After a year, they had written thousands of words and finished a first draft. Their small habit turned a big dream into reality. This story shows that habits can help with creative goals, too, whether it's writing, painting, or learning a skill. Doing a little every day adds up. Listening practice question 4. Pause and answer. What's one big goal you have? What's one small habit you could start to work toward it? Pause for 10 seconds. How to build strong habits now. Let's talk about how to build habits that last. Here are 3 practical tips to help you create habits and stick with them. Start small and simple. Best habits are small and easy to do. If you want to read more, don't start with a 300-page book. Read 1 page a day. If you want to exercise, don't aim for an hour at the gym. Try 5 minutes of stretching. Small habits are easier to start and harder to quit. For example, someone wanted to learn English vocabulary. They started by learning one new word each morning while drinking coffee. It took only a minute, but after a month, they knew 30 new words. Small habits grow into big results. Tie habits to a routine. Habits work best when you connect them to something you already do. This is called a trigger. For example, if you always drink tea in the afternoon, you could practice English for 5 minutes right after. The tea becomes your trigger, reminding you to do the habit. A student used this trick. They studied English grammar every night after brushing their teeth. Brushing their teeth was the trigger, and soon, studying felt automatic. Think about your day. What's one thing you do regularly that could be a trigger for a new habit? Track your progress. Keeping track of your habits helps you stay motivated. You can use a notebook, a calendar, or an app. For example, put a check mark on a calendar every day you do your habit. Seeing a row of check marks feels good and reminds you to keep going. Someone trying to eat healthier marked a calendar every day they ate a vegetable. After a few weeks, they didn't want to break their streak of check marks. Tracking made the habit fun, like a game. Listening practice question 5. Pause and think. How could you track a new habit? Would you use a calendar, a notebook, or something else? Pause for 10 seconds. Overcoming habit challenge. Guesstimates. Building habits is hard. Let's talk about common problems and how to solve them. forgetting to do the habit. It's easy to forget a new habit, especially at first. To fix this, use reminders. Set an alarm on your phone or put a note where you'll see it. For example, someone wanted to practice English listening. They set a daily phone alarm for 7 p.m. to listen to a short podcast. The alarm helped them remember until the habit became automatic. Problem 2. Feeling bored. Habits can feel boring after a while. To stay interested, make them fun. If you're studying English, try watching a fun video or listening to a song instead of just reading a textbook. A student made their habit fun by reading English comic books. It felt like a treat. Not work. Problem 3. Missing a day. What if you miss a day? Don't worry, missing one day doesn't ruin a habit. Just start again the next day. Someone learning to play an instrument missed a practice day because they were busy. Instead of quitting, they practiced the next day and kept going. The key is to not miss 2 days in a row. Listening practice. Question 6. Pause and answer. What's one problem you might face with a new habit? How could you solve it? Pause for 10 seconds. Practice and reflection. Let's wrap up with a quick review and some practice. Today, we learned why habits are more important than motivation. We heard stories about people who build habits to get fit, improve in school, and write a book. We also shared tips. Start small. Tie habits to a routine and track progress. Now, here's a listening activity. I'll ask 3 questions based on today's lesson. Pause after each question. Think about your answer and write it down or say it out loud. This will help you practice English and think about habits. Question 1. Why are habits more important than motivation? Think of an example from the lesson. Question 2. How can starting small help you build a habit? Give one example we talked about. Let's talk about motivation, how to find it, and how to keep it. Motivation is the energy that pushes you to start and continue working toward your goals. In part 1, we learned why people quit, like not having clear goals or being afraid of failure. In part 2, we talked about building habits to stay committed. Today, we'll explore how to find motivation when you feel stuck and how to keep it going. Even when things get hard, motivation is like fuel for a car. You need it to keep moving forward. Let's get started with some ideas and stories to help you stay motivated. First, let's understand the 2 types of motivation, internal and external. Internal motivation comes from inside you. It's when you do something because you love it or it feels important. For example, someone might study English because they enjoy learning new words or want to travel and talk to people. External motivation comes from outside, like rewards or praise. For example, a student might study hard to get good grades or make their family proud. Both types are useful, but internal motivation lasts longer because it's personal. Here's an example. Someone wanted to learn to cook. At first, they were motivated by external reasons. They wanted to impress their friends with a nice meal. But as they cooked more, they found internal motivation. They loved creating new dishes and feeling creative. When their friends weren't around, they kept cooking because it made them happy. This mix of internal and external motivation helped them stick with it. Listening practice. Question 1. Pause the audio now and think. What's one goal you have? Is your motivation internal, external, or both? For example, do you study English because you love it or to get a better job? Pause for 10 seconds. Motivation can be hard to find sometimes. Maybe you're tired, busy, or just don't feel excited. That's normal. The good news is you can create motivation. One way is to remind yourself why your goal matters. This is called finding your why. For example, a student studying for exams felt tired and wanted to quit. They wrote down their reason. I want to study hard to get into a good university and have a career I love. Reading this reason every morning helped them stay focused. Another way to find motivation is to imagine your success. Close your eyes and picture yourself achieving your goal. If you're learning English, imagine having a conversation with a native speaker or watching a movie without subtitles. This picture in your mind can give you energy to keep going. Listening practice. Question 2. Pause and answer. What's one goal you're working on? Imagine achieving it. What does it look like? Pause for 10 seconds. Stories of staying motivated now. Let's hear some stories about people who found and kept motivation to achieve their goals. These stories show how motivation can help you push through challenges. First, think about someone who wanted to start a small business. They dreamed of selling handmade crafts online. At first, they were excited and worked hard, but after a few months, they had few sales and felt discouraged. They thought about quitting, but instead, they found their why. They wanted to build a business to support their family and feel proud of their work. To stay motivated, they set a small goal, post one new product every week. They also joined an online group of other small business owners for support. Over time, their sales grew and their motivation came back. This story shows 2 ways to stay motivated. Remind yourself why your goal matters and connect with others who share your interests. A group or a friend can give you ideas and encouragement when you feel low. Next, imagine a student preparing for a big English test. They studied for weeks, but the test was hard, and they didn't do well on a practice exam. They felt like giving up, thinking, I'll never pass. But instead of quitting, they tried something new. They watched English videos about motivation, like speeches or stories of people who succeeded after failing. These videos gave them energy. They also made studying fun by using apps with games to learn vocabulary. By the time of the real test, they felt ready and passed. This teaches us that motivation can come from outside sources, like videos or apps, and making work fun can keep you going. If a task feels boring, try a new way to do it. One more story. Someone wanted to run a 10-kilometer race. They started training, but after a few weeks, they felt tired and unmotivated. To keep going, they made a plan. They listened to their favorite music while running to make it enjoyable. They also told a friend about their goal, and the friend promised to cheer them on at the race. Knowing someone believed in them gave them motivation. On race day, they finished and felt amazing. This shows that small changes, like adding music and support from others, can boost motivation. Telling someone about your goal makes it feel real and keeps you accountable. Listening practice. Question 3. Pause and think. Who could you tell about a goal to help you stay motivated? It could be a friend, family member, or teacher. Pause for 10 seconds. Tips to find and keep motivation. Let's share 3 practical tips to help you find motivation and keep it, even when things get tough. Tip 1. Find your why. Every goal needs a reason. Ask yourself, why is this important to me? Write down your answer and read it when you feel stuck. For example, someone learning a musical instrument wrote, I want to play music to feel creative and share it with others. Reading this helped them practice, even on hard days. Try this. Write down your why for one goal and keep it somewhere you can see it, like on your phone or in a notebook. Tip 2. Break tasks into fun pieces. Big tasks can feel overwhelming, so make them fun or interesting. If you're studying English, don't just read a textbook. Try watching a short video, singing a song, or chatting with a friend in English. A student made vocabulary practice fun by creating flashcards with funny pictures. This kept them motivated because it didn't feel like work. Think about how you can make your goal enjoyable. Tip 3. Surround yourself with support. Motivation grows when you're around people who encourage you. Join a group, find a study partner, or talk to someone who shares your goal. For example, someone learning to draw joined an online art club. Seeing others work and getting feedback kept them excited. You don't need a big group. Even one supportive person can make a difference. Listening practice. Question 4. Pause and answer. How could you make a task more fun? For example, could you add music or use a new tool? Pause for 10 seconds. Overcoming motivation challenge. Guess it is. Motivation disappears. Let's talk about common problems and how to solve them. Problem 1. Feeling overwhelmed. Goals can feel too hard, making you lose motivation. To fix this, break your goal into tiny pieces. For example, someone wanted to read an English book but felt overwhelmed. They started with 1 page a day. It felt easy, and soon they were reading more. Small steps keep motivation alive. Problem 2. Comparing yourself to others. It's easy to look at others and think, they're better than me. This can kill motivation. Instead, focus on your own progress. Someone learning a language felt bad because their friends spoke better, but they started tracking their own improvement, like how many new words they learned each week. This helped them stay motivated. Freedom. You could compare yourself to a beginner, not an expert. Problem 3. Lack of energy. Sometimes you're too tired to feel motivated. To fix this, take care of yourself. Rest, eat well, and move a little. Someone training for a sport felt unmotivated when tired. They started taking short walks and drinking more water. This gave them energy to keep going. Even small changes to your health can boost motivation. Listening practice. Question 5. Pause and think. What's one thing that makes you lose motivation? How could you solve it? Pause for 10 seconds. Practice and reflection. Let's finish with a review and practice. Today, we learned about finding and keeping motivation. We talked about internal and external motivation, finding your why, and making tasks fun. We heard stories about people who stayed motivated by setting small goals, finding support, and trying new approaches. Here's a listening activity with 3 questions. Pause after each one. Think about your answer and write it down or say it out loud. This will help you practice English and think about motivation. Today, we're talking about overcoming obstacles, things that make it hard to keep going with your goals. In earlier parts, We learn why people quit, how to build habits, and how to stay motivated. But even with habits and motivation, obstacles can stop you. Obstacles are like rocks on a path that can slow you down. But you can find ways to move them or walk around them. We'll explore 3 common obstacles: lack of time, self-doubt, and limited resources, and share stories and tips to help you keep going. Let's get started. First, let's talk about lack of time. Many people say, I don't have time to study English, or I'm too busy to work on my goals. Life is busy: school, work, family, and other tasks take up a lot of time. But here's the truth. You don't need hours every day to make progress. Even a few minutes can help. For example, someone wanted to learn English, but had a busy job. They felt they had no time. Instead of giving up, they used small moments in their day. They listened to an English podcast while driving to work. They practiced 5 new words during their lunch break. These small actions added up, and after a few months, their English improved. This shows that you can find time, even in a busy day. Listening practice question 1. Pause the audio now and think, what's one thing you say you don't have time for? Could you find 5 minutes a day for it? Pause for 10 seconds. Another common obstacle is self-doubt. Self-doubt is when you think, I'm not good enough, or I can't do this. It's like a voice in your head that makes you want to quit. Everyone feels self-doubt sometimes, but you can learn to quiet that voice. Here's a story. A student wanted to give a presentation in English class. They practiced a lot, but before the presentation, they thought, what if I forget my words? What if everyone laughs? This self-doubt made them nervous. To overcome it, they practiced in front of a mirror and told themselves, I've prepared and I can do this. They also asked a friend to listen and give feedback. On the day of the presentation, they did well and felt proud. This teaches us that self-doubt is normal, but you can fight it by preparing well and believing in yourself. Positive thoughts, like I'm doing my best, can help. Listening practice. Question 2. Pause and answer. When have you felt self-doubt about a goal? What could you say to yourself to feel more confident? Pause for 10 seconds. The third obstacle is limited resources. Resources are things like money, tools, or help from others. For example, someone might say, I can't learn English because I don't have money for classes, or I don't have a computer. But you don't always need expensive things to reach your goals. There are many free or low-cost ways to learn. For instance, someone wanted to improve their English writing but couldn't afford a tutor. They found free apps and websites with writing exercises. They also joined a library where they could borrow books in English. By using what was available, they improved their skills without spending much. This shows that you can work with what you have. Listening practice question 3. Pause and think. What's one resource you think you need for a goal? Is there a free or easy way to get it? Pause for 10 seconds. Stories of overcoming obstacle slits. Here's some stories about people who faced obstacles and kept going. These stories show how to stay strong when things get tough. First, imagine someone who wanted to start exercising. Their biggest obstacle was time. They had a busy schedule with work and family. Instead of quitting, they found a solution. They woke up 10 minutes earlier each morning to do a quick workout at home. They used a free exercise video online, so they didn't need a gym. Over time, they got stronger and found more time to exercise because they felt better. This story shows that even with a busy life, you can find small pockets of time. It also shows that you don't need fancy equipment, simple solutions work. Next, think about a student who wanted to learn a new skill, like coding. They struggled with self-doubt, thinking, I'm not smart enough for this. To overcome it, they started with beginner lessons online and celebrated every small success, like writing their first line of code. They also joined an online group where other beginners shared tips. This support helped them feel less alone, and they kept learning. This teaches us that self-doubt can be beaten with small steps and support from others. Finding people who are also learning can make a big difference. One more story. Someone wanted to start a small business, but had no money for supplies. Instead of giving up, they used what they had. They made products from old materials at home, like turning old clothes into bags. They sold their products at a local market and used the money to buy more supplies. Over time, their business grew. This shows that limited resources don't have to stop you. Look around. What do you already have that you can use? Listening practice question 4. Pause and answer. What's one obstacle you faced with a goal? How did you handle it? Or how could you handle it? Pause for 10 seconds. Tips to overcome obstacles. Here are 3 practical tips to help you overcome obstacles and keep moving toward your goals. Tip 1. Manage your time better. If lack of time is your obstacle, plan your day. Look for small moments, like waiting for a bus or before bed, to work on your goal. For example, someone studying English used their bus ride to review vocabulary on their phone. They made a schedule: 10 minutes in the morning for listening, 10 minutes at night for reading. Planning helped them find time. Try this. Look at your day and find one 5-minute slot for your goal. Tip 2. Build confidence to fight self-doubt. Overcome self-doubt. Focus on your progress, not perfection. Keep a notebook of what you've learned or done. For example, someone learning to play an instrument wrote down every song they practiced. Seeing their list grow made them feel confident. Also, practice saying positive things, like I'm improving every day. This can quiet the voice of self-doubt. Tip 3. Use what you have. If you lack resources, get creative. Use free tools, like apps, libraries, or online videos. For example, someone wanted to learn photography but couldn't afford a camera. They used their phone to take pictures and watched free tutorials online. They practiced every day and got better. Look for free or low-cost ways to work on your goal. Listening practice question 5. Pause and think. What's one way you can manage your time better for a goal? For example, using 10 minutes in the morning. Pause for 10 seconds. Overcoming specific challenge. Let's talk about how to handle specific challenges that might stop you. Challenge 1. Feeling too busy. If you're too busy, try the 2-minute rule. Start your goal with just 2 minutes a day. For example, someone wanted to read more but had no time. They read for 2 minutes before bed. Soon, they were reading more because 2 minutes felt easy. Start small, and you'll find more time. Challenge 2. Feeling like you're not good enough. If self-doubt is strong, Compare yourself to your past self, not others. For example, a student learning English felt bad because others spoke better. They started tracking their own progress, like how many sentences they could say. Seeing improvement helped them feel better. Focus on your journey, not someone else's challenge. 3. Not having enough money or tools. If you lack resources, ask for help. Libraries, friends, or online communities can offer free resources. Someone wanted to study science but couldn't buy books. They borrowed books from a library and watched free videos online. Asking for help or searching for free options can open doors. Listening practice. Question 6. Pause and answer. What's one challenge you face with a goal? What's one small step you can take to overcome it? Pause for 10 seconds. Practice and reflection. Let's wrap up with a review and practice. Today, we learned about 3 common obstacles: lack of time, self-doubt, and limited resources. We heard stories of people who found time, built confidence, and used what they had. We also shared tips like managing time, focusing on progress, and getting creative with resources. Here's a listening activity with 3 questions. Pause after each one. Think about your answer and write it down or say out loud to practice your English today. We're wrapping up our series on why most people quit too soon by talking about long-term success and growth. In the earlier parts, we learned why people quit, how to build habits, how to stay motivated, and how to overcome obstacles like time and self-doubt. Now, we'll explore how to keep going for the long term and grow as a person while working on your goals. Long-term success is about staying committed, learning from your journey, and becoming better every day. Let's dive in with stories, tips, and ideas to help you achieve your dreams and keep growing. First, let's talk about why long-term commitment matters. Big goals like learning English fluently, mastering a skill, or building a career take time, sometimes years. It's easy to quit when results feel far away. But staying committed turns small steps into big achievements. For example, someone wanted to become a good public speaker. They started by practicing short speeches for a few minutes each week. At first, they didn't see much progress, but they kept going. After a year, they could speak confidently in front of a group. Their long-term effort paid off because they didn't quit. Listening practice. Question 1. Pause the audio now and think. What's one goal you have that might take a long time to achieve? Why is it worth the effort? Pause for 10 seconds. Long-term success also means growing as a person. Every step you take toward a goal teaches you something new about yourself, your skills, or the world. For example, someone learning a new language found that they became more confident and patient. Even when they made mistakes, they learned to keep trying. Growth isn't just about reaching the goal, it's about who you become along the way. Stories of long-term success. Let's hear some stories about people who stayed committed and achieved long-term success. These stories show how persistence and growth go together. First, imagine someone who wanted to learn to play a musical instrument they had never played before, and at first, they could only practice simple notes. It was frustrating because they wanted to play full songs. Instead of quitting, they practiced 10 minutes a day, focusing on small improvements. They also watched videos to learn new techniques. After 2 years, They could play several songs and even perform for friends. Their success came from staying committed and learning from every practice session. This story teaches us that long-term success comes from small, consistent efforts. It also shows that enjoying the process like playing a favorite song helps you stay committed. Next, think about a student who wanted to improve their grades in school. They struggled with science and felt like giving up. Instead, they made a plan, study one topic each week, and ask a teacher for help when needed. Over the school year, their grades got better, and they felt proud. More importantly, they learned how to ask for help and manage their time. These skills helped them in other subjects, too. This shows that long-term success isn't just about the goal, it's about the skills you gain. The student grew in confidence and problem-solving, which helped them in life beyond school. 1. More story. Someone wanted to start a small business selling homemade food. They began with just a few customers, and some weeks, they made no sales. Instead of quitting, they kept improving their recipes and talking to customers for feedback. After a year, their business grew, and they had regular customers. They also learned to be patient and handle challenges, which made them stronger. This story shows that long-term success takes patience and learning from feedback. Every small step, even a mistake, helps you grow. Listening practice. Question 2. Pause and answer. What's one skill you've learned while working on a goal? For example, patience or time management. Pause for 10 seconds. Tips for long-term success. Here are 3 practical tips to help you stay committed and achieve long-term success. Tip 1. Reflect on your progress. Take time to look back at how far you've come. This keeps you motivated and shows you're growing. For example, someone learning English kept a journal of new words they learned each month. When they felt stuck, they read their journal and saw how much they improved. Try this every week. Write down one thing you did well or learned. It could be a new English phrase or a small step toward your goal. Tip 2. Adapt your goals. Sometimes your goals need to change as you grow. For example, someone wanted to run a marathon but realized they enjoyed shorter races more. They changed their goal to running 5-kilometer races and stayed motivated. It's okay to adjust your plans if it keeps you moving forward. Think about your goals. Are they still right for you? If not, what small change could help? Tip 3. Stay curious. Curiosity keeps you excited about learning. Ask questions, try new things, and explore. Someone studying a new skill watch videos, read books, and try different methods to learn. Their curiosity made the journey fun and helped them improve. For example, if you're learning English, try reading a new type of story or watching a different kind of video. Staying curious keeps you growing. Listening practice. Question 3. Pause and think. How could you reflect on your progress for a goal? For example, keeping a journal or talking to a friend. Pause for 10 seconds. Overcoming long-term challenge. Long-term goals come with challenges. Let's talk about 3 common ones and how to handle them. Challenge 1. Losing focus over time. It's easy to lose focus and forget why you started. To fix this, remind yourself of your goal regularly. Someone working on fitness put a picture of a runner on their wall to stay focused. They also set small monthly goals, like running a little farther each time. Small reminders and goals keep your focus sharp. Challenge 2. Feeling stuck sometimes, you feel like you're not improving, even after a long time. This is called a plateau. To get past it, try something new. For example, a student learning English felt stuck with vocabulary. They started writing short stories with the words they knew, which made learning fun again. If you're stuck, change your approach or try a new method. Challenge 3. Burnout. Working on a goal for a long time can make you feel tired or burnt out. To avoid this, take breaks and rest. Someone training for a sport took one day off each week to relax. They also mixed up their training with fun activities, like dancing. Rest and variety help you stay strong for the long term. Listening practice. Question 4. Pause and answer. What's one challenge you might face with a long-term goal? How could you solve it? Pause for 10 seconds. Practice and reflection. Let's finish with a review and practice to wrap up our series. Today, we learned about long-term success and growth. We heard stories of people who stayed committed to playing an instrument, improving grades, and starting a business. We shared tips like reflecting on progress, adapting goals, and staying curious. We also talked about challenges like losing focus, feeling stuck, and burnout. This is the final part. So let's do a big listening activity to practice your English and think about everything we've learned. Ned, I'll ask for questions. Pause. After each one, think about your answer and write it down or say it out loud. This will help you practice speaking and comprehension. Question 1. Why is long-term commitment important for big goals? Think of an example from today's lesson. Pause for 15 seconds. Question 2. How can reflecting on progress help you stay motivated? Give an example we talked about. Pause for 15 seconds. Question 3. What's one long-term goal you have? What's one small step you can take this month to keep going? Pause for 15 seconds. Question 4. How have you grown as a person while working on a goal? For example, have you become more patient or confident? Pause for 15 seconds. Great job listening today. And throughout this series, you've learned why people quit, how to build habits, stay motivated, overcome obstacles, and achieve long-term success. Most importantly, you've practiced your English and thought about your own goals. Keep working on your dreams, stay curious, and never give up. You can do it. Thank you for listening. And keep practicing your English every day. Thank you for asking for an explanation of the last part of the script. Since you use that wally part, likely meaning last part in our do, I'll assume you're referring to part 5, long-term success and growth, approximately 2,700 words. The most recent part provided before the bonus part was partially drafted. You've requested an explanation and given your context B1 level English learner, interest in English practice from prior conversations, and instructions for a 15,000 word script without character names or section word count mentions. I'll explain part 5 in simple B1 level English. I'll summarize its content, purpose, and key points, focusing on how it helps with English listening and speaking practice while aligning with the theme why most people quit too soon. If you meant the bonus part or want a different focus, e.g., specific sections, vocabulary, or exercises, please clarify, and I'll adjust the response. Explanation of Part 5, Long-Term Success and growth purpose of Part 5. Part 5 is the final part of the 5-part series designed for B1 English learners to improve listening and speaking skills while learning about persistence. It focuses on achieving long-term success and personal growth, how to keep working on goals over a long time and become a better person along the way. It connects ideas from parts 1 to 4, why people quit, habits, motivation, obstacles, and gives practical tips to stay committed. The script is written like a podcast or audio lesson with clear language, stories, and questions to help learners practice English and think about their goals. Key points of Part 5. The script is divided into sections that cover why long-term commitment matters, stories of success, tips for staying committed, challenges, and a final review with exercises. Here's a simple explanation of each part. Why long-term commitment matters. Script explains that big goals, like learning English or mastering a skill, take time, sometimes years. Quitting too soon stops you from seeing results. It emphasizes that working on a goal helps you grow as a person. For example, you might become more patient, confident, or better at solving problems. Example, someone practiced public speaking for a year. At first, they were slow, but they kept going and became confident. This shows that small steps over time lead to big results. Why it helps learners. This section encourages you to think about your own long-term goals and why they're worth the effort. It uses simple words like commitment and progress to build vocabulary. Stories of long-term success. Script shares 3 stories about people who achieve goals by staying committed. Someone learn a musical instrument by practicing 10 minutes daily for 2 years. They went from simple notes to playing songs. A student improved their science grades by studying one topic a week and asking for help. They also learned time management. Someone started a food business with few customers but kept improving recipes and got more sales after a year. These stories show that persistence, keeping going, and learning from small steps lead to success. They also highlight growth, like gaining confidence or patience. Why it helps learners. The stories are easy to understand and use repetitive language to help with listening. They inspire you to keep working on your goals, like studying English. Tips for long-term success. Script gives 3 tips to stay committed. Reflect on progress. Look back at what you've done to stay motivated. For example, write down new English words you've learned. Adapt goals. Change your goals if needed to. Stay excited. For example, someone switched from running a marathon to shorter races. Stay curious. Keep learning new things to make goals fun. For example, try new English videos or stories. These tips are practical and help you apply the lessons to your own life, like practicing English daily. Why it helps learners. The tips use clear examples and encourage speaking practice by asking you to think about your goals. They teach words like reflect, adapt, and curious. Overcoming long-term challenges. Script talks about 3 challenges that can stop you losing focus, forgetting why you started. Solution. Use reminders like a picture or small goals. Feeling stuck, not seeing progress. Solution. Try new methods like writing stories to learn English. Burnout. Feeling tired. Solution. Take breaks and mix fun activities like dancing or watching videos. Example, Someone training for a sport took breaks and added fun activities to avoid burnout. Why it helps learners. This section teaches problem-solving vocabulary, e.g., focus, plateau, burnout, and gives practical ideas to keep practicing English. Practice and reflection. The script ends with a review of this series and for listening questions. To practice speaking and thinking. Why is long-term commitment important? How does reflecting on progress help? What's one long-term goal you have? And what's a small step for it? How have you grown while working on a goal? These questions ask you to speak or write answers, helping you practice English and connect the lessons to your life. Why it helps learners? The questions improve listening and speaking skills by asking you to respond out loud or in writing. They use simple sentence structures to match B1 level. How Part 5 helps with English practice listening skills. The script is spoken clearly, with pauses after questions to help you understand. It repeats important words, e.g., success, growth, commitment to build vocabulary, speaking skills. The listening questions encourage you to say answers out loud, like stating your goal or describing progress. This helps you practice speaking confidently. As you mentioned in our July 2nd, 2025 conversation about practicing sentences. Comprehension. The stories and tips use simple examples, e.g., learning a language, starting a business, that are relatable, making it easier to understand the main ideas. Motivation for learning. The script connects English practice to personal goals, encouraging you to keep studying by setting small goals or staying curious. Key vocabulary sum. Important words in Part 5 include commitment, staying dedicated to a goal, progress, improvement over time, growth, becoming a better person, reflect, think about what you've done, adapt, change something to make it better. Curious, wanting to learn more, plateau, feeling stuck with no progress, burnout, feeling too tired to continue. These words are explained with examples in the script, helping you learn them naturally. Why it fits the series. Part 5 wraps up the series by showing how all the ideas, goals, habits, motivation, and overcoming obstacles lead to long-term success. It encourages you to keep going with your English studies or other goals. Even when it's hard, the stories and exercises make the lessons practical so you can use them in real life.